all the smart people in the room, they left. Oh my gosh, it's so nice to see you. I haven't seen you forever. I'm like, wait, shake my hand. No, I don't. It's nice to see you.
It's good to see you.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Sorry.
that's okay. It's nice to see all of you. We got all kinds of visitors and all kinds of people from the church that aren't here. Sorry. It was so funny on the way to church this morning. I'm like, man, there ain't nobody on the roads. And I mean, I come to church at like 7 o'clock in the morning, but there was like, normally there's people out running around. I guess it's a holiday, so people don't go to church. And like, that's the best time to go to church. I don't know. My sermon today is about your future. The future and a hope. You got to have a future and a hope, right? How many of you guys have ever lived without hope? How many of you realize how silly that was? How many realize the reason you had no hope is because you were looking to something that was not capable of giving you a future? And the reason people don't have hope is because they're looking to the wrong thing for their provider in their future. You know, we sing the song Waymaker. I love the song just because I like to worship Jesus, and I like to worship in that style of song, so I'm just like having a hoedown up here with myself. So I apologize. I love Jesus, and I love worshiping God. And we sing the song Waymaker, and we don't realize that. Whose bank account would you like to spend? Yours or God's? Okay, whose bank account would you like to spend? The government's or God's? God's. Why? Because he owns everything. Amen. But some of you wait around for the check to come once a month. And your whole life revolves around it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Josh grew up in a home like that. Yeah. Poor Josh, he grew up in a home where he can't name a person that he grew up with that ever had a job. They worshiped the monthly check. Could you just see it? Postman comes up. Josh jumps out of the bushes and says, Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God. Oh. But we revolve our whole life around our paychecks, our money we get from the government, right? What about the guy who created the place, who owns all of it? When someone tells me they ain't got no hope, you know what I tell them? Thanks, man. I'm going to float out of here. Someone tells me they ain't got no hope, you know what I tell them? What you looking at? Where's your hope coming from? If you knew who God was, you'd have some hope. Unless you're not on his team. I mean, if you ain't on God's team, you ain't got no hope. You know, yesterday I was talking to somebody, and it was awesome, an awesome testimony. We were sitting here, and we were here, and a young man came in that we ministered to when he was like 13, 15 years old, and he's now 21. And he spent the last 8 years of his life in drugs and alcohol and other things. And he came in, and he came here because we're the only people he knows that know God. And his cheeks are all sunken in, and his wife left him and is partying somewhere in Columbus. And he doesn't know what to do. It was exciting to me because he knew where hope was. He said, I don't know who to turn to. I need somebody to pray with. I looked at him and I said, man, you got a problem? I mean, you got a problem with drugs? Well, and he didn't answer my question. I told him about our program, and I texted Evan because Evan has a relationship with him, and my wife and I knew him. Evan had a better relationship. Evan came up to the church and talked to him and prayed with him. You know, it's really easy to put your hope in things that of the world, things that you know, things that you can feel and touch. It's really easy to do that till it's all gone. And no matter how long you live, eventually you'll come to a place where it's all gone. Whether it's on your deathbed at 90 years old, or it's 21, and your dad's dying of cancer, and your wife just left to go party with a bunch of people for days and days. And you have nothing. And everything you knew was hopeless. He said to me, do you have a job? Do you know where I can get work so I can get my feet back underneath me? And I said, man, I don't have a job to give you, but we can help. He didn't need a job. Where was his hope, guys? Where was his hope when he talked to me? In making money. His hope was in making money. I need to get my feet back underneath me. I need to get restarted. I can do this. The world will tell you that. Oh, you can do it. You can do it. Oh, yeah, yeah. Listen, man, if God don't want you to do it, you ain't doing it. I don't care how hard you try. If that's not God's plan for your life, it ain't happening. I don't care how much you will it. I don't care how much you want it. I don't care. It doesn't matter. God's in control. I got a couple scriptures I want to read to you, and then I'm just going to rant on to you about what God's told me to talk to you about this morning. This sermon's been in me for about 3 weeks, so who knows how long it will be. Okay? We got out early last week, so I'm just taking that time and putting it on this one, all right? Just joking. Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. About 20 years ago, this is one of the most popular Bible verses in the world. For I know the thoughts that I have, plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Folks, you know me. I'm not the quintessential pastor who just wants to encourage you and love you and pat you on the back and fluff your pillow and make everything wonderful for you. I'm football coach, Pastor Mike, and I'm going to yell at you when it's time to yell, and I'm going to motivate you. So don't get confused about this Bible verse. Okay? But God does have a future and a hope for you. And you know, when we're moving on to the new year, right? And we think about last year. And we think about what's to come in the new year. I want to point something out here. Who has plans? God does. He says, plans to give you hope and a future. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Please don't make them your plans. They're God's plans. Okay? Do you understand this? How many of us go to God with our plans and ask Him to approve them? You know, years ago I had a young lady tell me that she wanted my wife and I to help her decide who she was going to marry. And so it was like, okay. So one day she shows up with some guy that she had chosen and asked for us to approve him. Now, how is that us helping her find out who she's going to marry? That's her choosing who she wanted and asking us for approval. Is there a difference? There's a big difference. Now, I have spent countless hours and weeks, months, and years explaining this to my daughters. Don't you dare come home with some guy that you've already given your heart away to and make me say no. So I can be the bad guy, right? So I can be the villain. Now, for those of you that are fathers, you're basically making me break your heart. Any father in the room like to tell their daughter no to break her heart? No. Except me. Because if she done built a bridge across her heart to some nasty, skanky, idiot man, I'm going to break that bridge. I'm going to crush it into the ground. I'm going to make concrete out of it, and I'm going to make me a new bridge in the name of Jesus. And if she doesn't like it, I don't care. At least she can't look at me and say, "Why did you tell me no?" I've lived long enough to sit across the table when she came to me and said, "Why did you tell me no?" More than once. Whose plans are they? God's plans. Who was not consulted about the plans? You and me. We were not consulted about the plans. Is there a place in the scripture that I'm missing where God said, "And I approached you with the plans and I asked for your approval and I wanted to make sure that you were okay with them"? Is there a place in scripture that talks about that? No place. No place. Now, that's it for this part of the sermon. Because I am going to go frou-frou, nice, fluff your pillow. What? But in a very different way. I'm going to be coming down off of a 1,000-foot hill on a roller coaster. Hold on. What would a roller coaster that God made look like? See, God's got plans for you. Would you just please shut your mouth and take his plans? Would you enjoy the ride instead of trying to tell him how to make it? Some of you guys, you're on the ride with Jesus Christ, and he's got plans for you, and the whole time you're telling him. You ever went to a movie with someone who's a movie critic, and the whole time they're talking about the movie and well, they could have done that better, and those sci-fi effects, those aren't very good. And you ever been with people like that? And you're just like, shut up. I was married to somebody like that once. They were a theater major. They wanted to be a theater professor in college. And you go to a movie and the whole time they're criticizing. Or they're talking, they did a really good job with that. I want to watch the movie. It's like watching football with my daughter over there, Arabelle. Richard's back there. Oh no, that's bad. You're sitting there watching the game, and you're trying to listen to the announcers because they're adding things to the game. Like, I talked to so and so, and this is what they said about this, and they're talking about the stats, and you're trying to listen, and Arabelle's over there going, "Hey, Dad, wouldn't it have been really cool if he dropped back and did a somersault and landed on his helmet, and then spun a little bit, and then jumped up on his legs and threw a touchdown pass? Wouldn't that be cool, Dad?" And you're going, shh, shh. Never mind. What, Arabelle? It's God's roller coaster. What kind of roller coaster? Anybody here like roller coasters? Anybody like roller coasters when you were a kid? Raise your hand. Some of you guys, you're adults, are like, "I don't like them anymore. About when I was 30, I went on one, I thought, oh my goodness, what happened to me? I've gotten old." Or some of you go on a roller coaster and you don't even get to that point. They pull the thing down and you're like, oh, it doesn't come down and latch. Right, Richard? Right, Richard? You're like, "Well, I don't like roller coasters anymore. Roller coasters are stupid." No, it's more like, "I don't like roller coasters anymore. They're stupid," you know. I love roller coasters. I still like roller coasters. My wife and I, a couple years ago, we went to Kings Island with the kids, and Arabelle and I got on a roller coaster with Beth, and it was funny because we're sitting here, and Beth gets off. She goes, "It hurt my neck." And I'm like, "Oh, why did it hurt your neck?" And then, you know how they take pictures of you when you're going by? And then we realized why it hurt her neck. She's a little bit of a control freak. We're sitting there, and here's Arabelle and I going, "Ah." Here's Beth. Just, I mean, you can see the veins in her neck. I'm like, "My God, girl. I mean, no wonder it hurts your neck." It just flexed like that, and it hit the corner. Whack. Oh, it hurt my neck. No, you're supposed to enjoy this. Imagine being on a roller coaster that God made. How high would it be? How many G's would you get when you go around the first curve? OG, 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 OG. I mean, those of you that like roller coasters, you know what I'm talking about, right? The feeling that your stomach is falling down out of your rear end, you know? And you're like, "Yeah!" Oh. Some of us enjoy that, some of you don't. It's okay. Do you enjoy it? Oh, we ought to go. Yeah, it's fun. Imagine being on a roller coaster God made you. And the reason why I'm asking you to imagine being on a roller coaster that God made you is because so many of us, we don't ever experience God's plans. Not because we don't believe that God can do what he wants to do, because we do. Not because we're sitting and we're just living for ourselves, because we don't want to. We don't experience God's awe in our lives because we put a governor on it. You know what a governor is, right? Some of you old people do, some of you young people don't. We put a limit on the switch. We don't believe that God can do things like that. We don't think that God can make roller coasters that high. We don't think that he can take roller coasters that fast. And because of our lack of belief, we don't ever experience God. Think about it. We never experience God's plans because for some reason we think we should have the ability to interject our understanding, our wishes, our likes and dislikes into his plans. Some of you are sitting there and you say, "I can't get on a roller coaster, Pastor Mike, I have a back problem." God's like, "No, I made this roller coaster for you, and when it's over, it's the best chiropractor you're ever going to experience in your life. But you won't get on it. And so you stay in bondage to your back problem the rest of your life." Now, I'm using a back problem as an analogy, folks. And you sit there and you spend the rest of your life praying that God would fix your back when his plans were to. You just wouldn't get on the roller coaster. I say that. It was neat. We're sitting here and Jessica, for those of you that don't know my daughter over there, Jessica, say hi. She's here with her family. She shows up last night, and Beth and I, we had like a half hour, 45 minutes. We were just going to go home and talk or whatever else we were going to do, and we didn't have any kids, so you know. Anyways, and she leaves her phone in the kitchen, and we're in another room talking, and we were waiting for Jessica to let us know when she was heading up to the church, and half hour goes by after she got up here, and I was like, "Beth, where's your phone?" She's like, "In the kitchen." I was like, "Oh my gosh." Go down there, and they were already here. But what was really cool is she came in, they were here, they came into the building just as they were letting out of the show Saturday night. And there's about 70 kids just running around acting like heathens. Now, some of you don't know this, but Jessica was my teenage daughter when I started my first youth outreach program. It's called the Fish House. And what we did is we took a little garage out behind the building of the church, and we did some stuff to it, put some lights in it, and started an outreach program to teenagers. And Evan Campbell was a kid who came to that. Where's Evan? And he's probably high when he was there, but that's okay. He was there, okay? And I looked at Jessica and I said, you know, Jessica, everything that we ever dreamed about when we started the Fish House has happened. Everything. Everything that we ever, if I looked at those kids when in 19, what was it? How old were you? 16? 17? So when was that? 1990 what? How old are you now? It's like 96, 95. If I looked at those kids and said, what do you think God could do here? What do you think he could do through this ministry? Not one of them would say, you know, in about 5 years, the YMCA is going to move and we're going to be able to buy that building and use it to minister in. And we're going to have this and we're going to do that. And not a one of them would see that big. Not a one of them would see that. Not a one of them would see 23 years of that ministry affecting generation after generation of young people in the community. Not a one. Not a one of them would see a youth program that reaches out to kids whose parents are dying of overdoses and giving them a place where they belong instead of giving themselves away to some nasty, skanky boy or nasty, skanky girl and getting into drugs and alcohol. Not a one of them saw it that far. I can honestly tell you, I didn't see it that far. What are you doing to God's plans? Are you getting on the roller coaster going, or are you going, I'll give you my opinion when I'm done. Are you coming to God with a list of things that you want to see done next year? Well, let me tell you something, folks. Your ways are not his ways. Your plans are not his plans. And you will never be able to understand God's plans. Can anybody tell me how we're supposed to walk in this life? By faith, not by what we see or experience or know. What are you doing with God's plans? Now, I can tell you this. I was in my mind thinking about this sermon this morning and how I was going to share this because it sounds so hokey. Sounds so, hey, God's got a plan for you next year. It's a future and a hope, and he wants to bless you. He wants to bless you. He wants you to live blessed, 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 blessed. We're blessed in the city. We're blessed in the... Oh, sorry. Ever been to one of those churches? Yeah? Uh-huh. Mike's like, really? Yeah. Yeah. But God really is going to do an incredible thing next year here. And I'm not saying that I want him to. Oh, no, no, no. He is. He started it. It's scary. What would you do if you were waiting in line for an hour to ride a roller coaster that you couldn't see the top of the hill? How many of you guys have ever been on one of those roller coasters? As you're getting closer, a little bit of fear starts to come in. Anybody? Yeah, and you're just like, there's something in your stomach and you're like, I don't know if I really want to do this or not. You ever been behind somebody as they were getting on the ride and they're like, nope, I'm not doing it. Anybody ever been one of those people? Come on, be proud. Mom, I was there when I was a kid. Mom did it. Yeah. The gravity of what God is doing and going to do is starting to make me a little queasy. I'm starting to go, God, you're really going to do that? That's really scary. That's amazing. You're like, what's he going to do, Pastor Mike? I'm half not wanting to tell you because you'll put your limits on it. You know what I mean? I'm half not wanting to tell you. I'm half not wanting to tell you what God's showing me because one, I don't want to sound presumptuous, and Pastor Mike up there talking about what, and then you'll come back to me at the end of the year. It didn't happen, Pastor Mike. You're not a real prophet of the Lord. I don't need to come to church here anymore. You're a horrible, evil sinner. All you gatekeepers out there. Oh, my God. None shall pass. Display your righteous badge before you shall pass. I am the prophet of the Lord. He has sent me here to determine whether you're holy enough or not. I'm rightly dividing the word of truth. Anybody ever met people like that? Run! Run as fast as you can. Maybe spit in their face on the way by. Oh, now you know what. She's back there. Have you ever been to this church before? You're like, oh my God, you're hilarious. Yeah, I'm crazy, okay? She's just back there like, he really, oh my gosh, really? Yeah, I did. If you're not afraid of how awesome it's going to be, it's probably not God's vision for you. I want you to imagine walking into this crevice called the Red Sea and walking down into it with walls of water on each side of you. How scared would you be? Right? Right? Folks, listen. These guys are getting really good at the camera, and we live feed all of our sermons on Facebook, and they're all out there. You can see every stupid thing I've ever said. Every stupid thing I've ever said for like 10 years is out there somewhere. We have archives of audio recordings of sermons preached in 2003 here. Literally, I have a box of them somewhere in the building. You could watch the Green Gulch, God help us. Tonight might outdo Green Gulch, just by the way. I'm tell you. Folks, I see us having service over there in that gym because we don't fit in here. I see the big screen being on a wall and this room being filled too. Okay? Listen, guys, we don't do nothing to invite people to church around here. Nothing. We had somebody here a couple weeks ago. It was about a month and a half ago. And they have been in church all their lives. They have led ministry in church all their lives. They have been in multiple different churches. Big churches, small churches, doesn't matter. He came up to me after service that day and he said, I got to tell you something, Mike. He goes, that was the best worship service I've ever been in my life. And I went, really? He goes, yeah, like, why aren't you excited? And I'm like, and I wasn't excited, I was scared. Because our worship services here are, you feel God. Okay? We don't invite people to church. Why? Well, we don't know what to do with them. He's laughing because he knows it's true. Well, what if we did invite people to church? What if we didn't worry about what to do with them? What if we did go pick up their kids and feed them and then invite them to church so they could, hey, we'll pick up your kids at 9 in the morning. You can come to church at 10:30 and just take them home with you. We'll feed them breakfast. Don't worry about it. What if we did do that? What if people really did get healed? What if we really prayed for people and they really got healed? I mean, I already know people come here and they get prophesied over and things change their life, and I already know all that. That happens all the time. I already know that people come here and they feel God's presence and it makes them choose. That's all I'm asking for, is to make you choose. You come here, you get in God's presence, God's going to make you choose. It's not my job to do anything else. What if we, organizations in this community and outside this community, really did give us the money to remodel that big, huge building down the street and really put 75 people on the second floor and 75 people on the first floor to walk them through, hand in hand, walk them through God changing their life? What would happen? I had to share this with you because this is how I know God's moving, okay? Because God shot a shot across the bow in my life just a couple weeks ago. He said, there was a gentleman that comes to church here, and he knows some people that own a major company, it's like $50 million company. And he just, before we had any materials to give, he just floated the idea of making the discipleship center their charity they give to. He came to me 2 weeks ago and he said, Mike, they voted. And I was like, he said, we were 6 percentage points from having $160,000 donated to the church this year. He said, we'll get it next year. Are you ready? Are you ready? See, very few of you hear this. Maybe there might be a few people in the room that have heard this vision, okay? Jim, I know you've heard it. The vision of this church isn't to have a nice little church in Marion. The vision of this church is not to have a nice little church in Marion, Ohio. Nope. The vision of this church is humongous. And I came up here last night, and Jessica's like, man, there's kids everywhere, dude. It was like freaky. And I'm like, yeah. And then God was like, look. Remember when you drove to southern Ohio and picked up rough sawn wood from a sawmill and brought it back and put it on the sides of the garage out behind the church and lined the back of the walls with black plastic and put chicken wire up? This high up was rough sawn wood, and the upside was black plastic and chicken wire over it to make it look cool. And remember how you took every last dime you had to do that? And here you are today standing in your church, 55,000 square foot facility made specifically to do your ministry. Mike, you're only 46. What do you think I'm planning on doing with you, boy? And knowing all the things that God's doing, knowing the program He's set our hands to, knowing the facilities He's given us, knowing the supernatural results we're experiencing as God shows Himself to people. And going, you know, God, maybe the only reason this thing hasn't gone crazy is because we won't let you. We don't think you could do that with us. We don't have faith that you could do that. We don't believe that you could do that. Maybe the only reason I'm not on your roller coaster is because I haven't got on it yet. Because I'm still looking at it, trying to decide if it's safe or not. You guys know those long lines you go through? That's the roller. How many of you guys look at the roller coaster and you're waiting to hear something weird as the other people are on it, and you're waiting to see it. You're seeing if it's safe. Anybody ever been like that? Maybe you're too busy seeing if it's safe. Maybe you're too busy seeing if it's how high does it really go. You know, if it goes that high, I don't think I want to go on it. I don't care if God made it or not. That's what God's doing in my life. Let's make it personal to you. Let's make it personal to you. What do you think God's got for you? Huh? I get the opportunity, some of you guys don't get this opportunity. I get the opportunity to minister to people who are like, they hit the bottom and they've hit it about 5 or 6 times, and then a piano fell out of the sky and squished them down at the bottom. And they come to us and they're like, help. Okay? And we get the opportunity, yeah, Mike's one of them. And we get the opportunity, amen, brother. Mike's like, it was my piano. And I'm the one that hit the switch to let it fall. And then it's like, wow, you have more problems than just physical, don't you? I get the opportunity to help them and minister to them, and you have to approach them with God's perspective on their life. You can't even listen to what they have to say about their life. You can't even listen to their perspective about their life, because you'll believe them. You'll get their stupid, stinking thinking. You have to go to them and go, you know, God's got a plan for your life. Oh, yeah, but you don't know what I've done. I don't care about what you've done. Oh, yeah, you do. You just listen. Listen to me. Listen to what I've done. You don't even want to listen to him. You sit there and you listen to him just out of politeness, you know. The whole time you have to think about, what does God have for this person? And sometimes God's got incredible things for him, and you can see it. Sometimes God's just got steady, faithful things for them. It depends on how you're wired. You understand that, right? God created each and every one of us for specific things. And your personality is designed for those specific things. He didn't make everybody somebody who has to stand up in front of people 3 or 4 times. For me now, do you know I teach people over 12 times a week now? How many of you guys knew that? I have one-on-one counseling sessions with people over a half a dozen times a week. I teach people over 12 times a week. Not everybody's wired to do that. I'm a guy, I could be walking from here to the youth center, and God will give me a lesson in the process of me walking down the hallway. And it just goes, doo, 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 doo. I walk in the door and teach the lesson. That's how I'm wired. Thank God he made me super hyperactive. Thank God he made my mind go, because there's no way I could ever do what he made me to do if he didn't make me that way. Man, thank God my mom didn't listen to the school psychologist. Thank God they didn't have Ritalin when I was a kid. God, if you're laid back and you're like, you're like one of those guys, you like to ride your low rider, just chill out. You like to sit on the porch in the middle of the afternoon and drink a lemonade and just sit there and just think about today. Good luck. I'll never be on the porch with you, but that's okay. Enjoy your porch. But whatever it is, be faithful in what God has called you to be. And you know what? Guys like that are amazingly faithful. You don't have to entertain them. They show up to church every week, and they're faithful, and they give their tithes and offerings, and they give of themselves in their ministry. And by the way, 80% of all human beings are like that. Patty, you and I are not like that, okay, sweetie? You and I, we're not in that world. It's okay. We're okay. Okay? All of you, if you like sitting on the porch and watching, cheer me on. Cheer me on. Okay? It's okay. People all my life, Pastor Mike, you need to slow down. You're going to burn out. Yeah, when I'm dead. When I'm dead, I'm going to burn out. But if you're that, be a Mr. Steady. Be a Mrs. Steady. Make me cookies. Bring them to the church. If you're that prayer warrior, you like to spend hours and hours in your prayer closet, please pray for me. Please. What is it that God has for you? Why are you limiting it? Those are His plans, thank you very much. He doesn't need your perspective on it. He doesn't need your governance over it. See Josh right here? See him? God's going to change his whole life. He's going to have a job. He's going to provide for his family and his children. God's going to bring him somebody in his life. He's going to be a mighty man of God. He's going to spend hours and hours and hours talking to people about Jesus. You'll probably spend the next 20, 30 years ministering to hundreds, if not thousands of people coming through the program. You relate with people, dude. You think about people. You think about how to talk to people, okay? God's going to use that if you'll submit it to Him. Okay? But you got to submit it. You got to submit yourself to Him. You got to let Him do what He wants to do. Do you see it from that perspective? David back there? I can't wait till God finishes His work in David. Listen. When you're a heroin addict, you know it's bad, right? Anybody in the room a heroin addict? Raise your hand, be proud. Come on. Hi, my name is Mike. I'm a heroin addict, right? Be proud. When you're a heroin addict, you know it's bad, right? How many of you think it's not bad? Right. You're like, you would have to raise your hand and say, I'm stupid. It's bad. When you're selfish indulgence and you're just selfish and you indulge in self-pleasure, how many of you don't know it's bad? David's not a drug addict, okay? David's actually a pretty nice guy unless you take his food. It's a fact. He goes, that's a fact. David is selfish. I can't wait till God's done with David. It'll never be done, but I can't wait till God sets David free from this and he sees a different perspective. I can't wait because I finally got somebody else. I can send him, go talk to David, you selfish, wretched person, you. Right? David, talk to them about what it means to be selfish. How many guys are selfish in those little things? And if you miss them, you throw a temper tantrum. Anybody? Okay, you used to. Man, there's a lot more selfish addicts here than there are heroin addicts, David. Think of all the people God's got for you to minister to. Think about that. We're going to have David, we can't have him teach a class because it would be like a 30-year class, 10 years worth of stuff in it in 30 years. But we're going to have him record classes. And we'll edit them, and he'll talk for 2 hours, and it'll be 20 minutes. But because David's smart. David's just selfish. And he goes into the program and he goes, I need to go through this program. I'm like, you don't have to go through the program to help out it. He goes, no, I want to go through the program. He goes, Mike, I'm selfish, and I need to change. Okay? And then 3 weeks later, he's like, I don't know if I want to do this program. Right? Because it's like, oh my gosh, I'm really selfish. Aren't we all? So, you know what? What's your vision for them? They make it through the program, or they become mighty men and women of God, that God does amazing things through their lives, that they go off to another city and play an incredible ministry there. Okay? Why are you limiting it? Isn't he the provider? Isn't he the way maker, the way maker? Isn't he the creator? Why would we limit God? You know, when I sit there and I think, 23 years, huh? 23 years. I wonder how much time went by in those 23 years that were wasted because I didn't believe. Oh, I know there was times. I know there were times where I just didn't believe God could do it. Or I didn't believe he could do it like that. At least I was smart enough to stick it out, right? Right? Faithfulness. One of the first things I taught when we started the church is faithfulness. You know, 80 to 90% of success in a relationship with God is being faithful. He's so gracious. We could be the dumbest people on the face of the earth. We could be super special ed, you know? Like, we don't have an IEP. We have our own bus. Right? Right? And we could still experience all that God has for us. We can still experience everything that God has for us if we stay faithful. But what if we took the top off? What if we took the lid off the jar and said, you know what? This jar that I have called myself, that's not the limit of what God could fill. How many of you guys have ever felt like God came at you with a semi-truck to fill your jar? And you're like, dude, I only need a jar. Right? You ever see those big takers that they haul milk around in? You're like, hey, God, can I have a drink? I'm really thirsty. I'm really hurting. He's like, he pulls up, and, you know, it's got a hose off the back of about 6 inches wide. And he's like, sure. Have you ever tried to fill a jar? Have you ever you got a big hose, like it's that big, and you try to fill a bucket, and you turn it on, and all you do is get splashed on? Right? That's how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to take that bucket and go to everybody. You know what you do? Well, I just need what goes in the bucket. And we carry it around. I got my stuff. I got my Jesus in my bucket. Look at my bucket. Well, it's messy if you do it the other way. You're not in charge. Well, I don't have any, I'll never have anything left in my bucket if I do that. Have you ever tried to fill a bucket like that? You can't fill it. You ever tried to, you got a hose this big, your bucket's this big, and it comes out, it shoots from here to the wall, and you try to fill the bucket. You can't fill the bucket. Listen, it's not your job to carry water with that bucket. It's your job to spread water with that bucket. You're not supposed to ever be able to turn the hose off and still have some. Do you understand that? You're never supposed to be able to turn the hose off and still have some left to carry it around going, look at my Jesus. Look at my Jesus in my Jesus bucket. I decorated my Jesus bucket. It is holy. Help, Lord. Help, Lord. I prayed over it last night. Pastor so-and-so prayed over it. It's got a double portion. Listen, if you're showing somebody your double portion, it's not a God portion. It's a you portion. Your bucket's not for you to carry it around with. He said, rivers of living water springing forth out of you, not buckets. You understand that? Why don't we take the lid off? I don't need no lid, no ways. It don't matter. Jesus! Give me some Jesus. Here you go. Why? Because there are plans and not God's plans. Am I right? There are plans and not God's plans. What's God got for you? Why aren't you living like that? Oh, don't sit there and dream dreams, folks. God don't need your dreams. Okay? Trust me, you'll know when he puts it in your heart. You'll know it's him. I got one last Bible verse to share with you. You awake back there, Jade? You back there surfing the web while I was preaching? You got to move the cursor over here, click it, and then you click forward. See, that's why you don't do anything else on the computer back there while we're having church service. Everybody, reach your hands up. Bless him, Lord, bless him, bless him. His dad's over there going. He's like, he's back there on that internet, wasn't he? Bless him, Lord. John 10:10. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. Also, another translation, abundantly. How many of you ever been walking up to Jesus' roller coaster and you're all excited? And you're walking next to a thief. And they start telling you all the reasons why you shouldn't get on that roller coaster. And they're trying to steal, kill, and destroy your experience with God. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, but Pastor Mike, how could God use somebody like you? You're fat. You're not holy enough. You're irreverent in the house of God. Your sanctuary set up wrong. Your service times aren't at the right time. You preach too long. Can I get an amen? You don't talk like this when you preach. They're all walking up to that roller coaster with you, telling you why it ain't going to happen, why you're never going to experience what God has for you. Right? Some of you, that guy lives in your own brain. Anybody know what I'm talking about? You could never do it. Look at you. Why? 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 Why don't you stop it? Why don't you listen to what God has for you? Why don't you put your trust in the Lord? Look at that roller coaster. There's no way that's safe. Did God make it? Well, I guess. Well, then it's okay. Well, what if you die? I'm going to die doing what God wanted me to do. Well, what if you're not supposed to die? Then God will raise me from the dead. What if you go up there and you get spun around so much you puke everywhere? The angels will fly down and clean it up. We'll have angel thunders. And they'll just come in and go. Amen? I got a dog named Thunder, folks. He's a big, huge, goofy German Shepherd. He's a year old. Something hits the floor. Kids puke. He's like, I'll get that for you. You know. I'll clean it up for you. Angel thunders. Who cares? Who cares? Let's go experience God. Let's go experience God. How many of you could honestly say today that in 2017, you didn't experience everything God had for you because you were scared? Maybe you didn't experience everything God had for you because you didn't even believe. Some of you are like, Pastor Mike, if I minister to people in an old garage, it goes worse than that, folks. You know where my first youth Sunday school class was? In an abandoned bus out behind the building. I had to go in the day before we did it and bomb the place for wasps. It had been setting out behind this old nasty building that our church was having church in for about 10 years. And I had to bomb it to kill all the wasps. We didn't even worry about the dust because they're just kids, you know. We went in and we had Sunday school in an abandoned bus out behind this nasty building. Folks, it's easy for you to say, well, if I experienced everything God's experienced in your life, man, I'd believe. You're never going to experience it if you don't believe. Don't take 25, 30 years like I did. Don't be slow. Trust in the Lord. Trust in the Lord. How many of you have kids? So I've got Arabelle's 16 and a half. She's graduating high school this year. She'll be 17 in June. Yeah, it makes you feel old, doesn't it? And she loves Jesus. But there's one thing we know about Arabelle, she needs a covering. Okay? And I don't want her to become this hard, mean, nasty person who can stand on her own 2 feet. That's not her job anyway. She's supposed to be this wonderful, beautiful garden that can grow and nurture anything that's planted into her. So I got to be her covering till I hand her off to a godly man, right? And then when I hand her off that godly man, God's going to bless her and him, and then they're going to make babies, and they're going to do awesome things in the Lord. So me and her mom are sitting there. We have thoughts for her. We have plans for her. They ain't stupid little plans. You know that, right? You have kids. You ain't got stupid little plans for your kids, do you? Or is your thinking that stupid and you have such stinking thinking that the only plans you have for your children are stupid, lame ones? Well, I just hope you're not a drug addict when you get older. Are you really that stupid? How about some plans? How about Beth and I said, yeah, you know, God will bring her this mighty man of God, and maybe they'll go overseas and plant churches, and maybe it'll be this, and maybe it'll be that, and maybe he'll bring somebody to the church, and they'll do this ministry, and that's our vision for our kids. And being a human being who's faulty, I have great and awesome plans for my children. How much more does God have plans for you? Folks, they ain't just plans to keep you from killing yourself with drugs. They ain't just plans to keep you to be a halfway decent human person. They're plans to change the world you live in for His kingdom. They're plans of abundant life and full life. They're plans of a future and a hope. Will you submit yourself to those today? Well, I don't know the plans yet. You don't need to. Does Jesus have a roller coaster? Yes, I'm riding it. What's it look like? I don't care. How tall is it? I don't care. Maybe fat guys can't fit on it. I don't care. I'm riding it. Right, Richard? Fat guys unite in Jesus' name. You know what I mean, right, Sulu? Amen. Oh, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. I know these two do. They're like, yeah, yeah, fat guy roller coaster, yeah. Did you hear what he said? Yeah, I see it. I see it. I see it. He's over there going, he can't see me. You can't see me. Right. Listen, guys. Did Jesus make a roller coaster? I'm getting on it. Where's the roller coaster end? I don't care. I'm getting on a roller coaster. How fast does it go? I don't care. When's it going to stop? I don't care. I'm getting on a roller coaster, man, because Jesus made it. And I'm not going to be like Beth. I'm going to be like this. Here's the question. You guys, whatever you're going to do, I forgot to tell you, do whatever you're supposed to do. Here's the question. Come on. Don't stop and look at people. Here's the question. How many questions do you have? Why? Why do you have questions about God's roller coaster? Well, Pastor Mike, you got to be careful. Why? Why? Why do you got to be careful? Huh? Because you're going to be able to fix it? You're going to be able to hit the stop button? Right? Hit the stop button. It's scary. Why? It's Jesus' roller coaster for you. Huh? Those of you who are supposed to come forward and be here to pray with people, for those of you who don't know, at the end of the sermon, we have response time now. We do worship at the end of the sermon for response time. Okay? So if you're supposed to be praying with people, you're supposed to come up here and pray, be able to be available to pray. If you're here today, and some of you guys might say, I need to make this prayer. If you're here today and you say, you know what, I need to stop this little attitude that I have about knowing what life's supposed to be like and how it should be, you should come forward and pray with somebody. As we worship, everybody's going to sing a song that's beautiful. Worship with God. Okay? But if you need to pray, you sit there and worship God and just be in His presence. That's okay. But maybe you need to confess that you're a little control freak Nazi and you're afraid to get on a roller coaster. Maybe you need to confess and believe with somebody else that God's got a plan for you. Okay? Maybe you need to believe with somebody else that God wants to do something awesome in your life. If you do, come forward and pray. If not, just sit there and be in God's presence. Enjoy the music. Enjoy the song.
And as you speak, 100 billion failures disappear. Where you lost your life so I could find it here. If you left the grave behind you, so will I can see your heart in everything you've done. Every part designed in a work of art called love. If you gladly chose surrender, so will I can see your heart a billion different ways. Every precious one, a child you died to save. If you gave your life to love them, so will I. Like you would again 100 billion times. But what measure could amount to your desire? You're the one who never leaves the one behind. If the stars are made to worship, so will I. If the stars are made to worship, so will I. If the mountains bow in reverence, so will I. If the oceans roar your greatness, so will I. If from everything lift you high, so will I. If the wind goes where you send it, so will I. If the rocks cry out in silence, so will I. If the sum of all the praises still fall short, then we'll sing again 100 billion times. The stars are made to worship, so will I. If the stars are made to worship, so will I. If the stars are made to worship, so will I. I will lift you high. Give you all of me, everything you can have it. Take me in your hands, use me for your plans, God. The stars are made to worship, so will I. The stars are made to worship, so will I. The stars are made to worship, so will I.
Why do you care what it looks like? Just get on it. Enjoy. Okay? See what God has for us. Have a great afternoon. Tonight, 6 o'clock. You guys don't want to miss this. Okay? It's hilarious. There's going to be absolutely nothing spiritual about it, but maybe she's going to sing this song again, and some of the kids are going to do some things. I know the children are going to do their dance or something, but it'll be a blast. So thanks for being here today. Have a great afternoon.